Sada Abe was born in 1905 into a wealthy Tokyo family, but had a rebellious nature. She was given privileges like higher education and training in the arts, but after being raped at 15, she became defiant and engaged in what her family saw as improper behavior. To discipline her, they sent her to train as a geisha, but she soon left disliking the profession's realities. She later worked as a waitress and a legally registered prostitute, experiences that shaped her views on love and relationships, ultimately influencing her infamous actions later in life. Her mother and encouraged to pursue singing and shamisen, activities linked to geisha and prostitutes. Fascinated by the glamorous geisha image, she skipped school and embraced stylish makeup. As family tensions grew, she was often sent out alone, leading her to associate with independent rebellious youths, shaping her unconventional path in life. In January 1936, when Sada Abe began working as an apprentice at a restaurant, she met Kichizo Ishida. Ishida was a charming, wealthy, and married man who owned the restaurant where Sada was employed. Soon, the two became involved in a passionate love affair. The relationship was unlike ordinary romances. They frequently indulged in alcohol and physical intimacy. Gradually, Sada Abe became intensely obsessed with Ishida. She feared that he would leave her and return to his wife. Abe Sada, who was in an obsessive love affair with Kichizo Ishida, watched a play on May 9, 1936, in which a geisha attacked her lover with a knife. Inspired by this, she decided to threaten Ishida. On May 11th, she pawned some of her clothes to buy a kitchen knife and sushi. That night, when she met Ishida, she took out the knife and threatened him, saying that she had worn the kimono to please a special customer. Although Ishida was startled, he responded with excitement. The Abe Sada incident is one of Japan's most infamous crimes, involving passion, obsession, and murder. In 1936, Abe Sada, a former geisha and sex worker, became romantically involved with Kichizo Ishida, the owner of a restaurant where she worked. Their relationship quickly became intense, marked by days of continuous sex, drinking, and mutual strangulation for pleasure. However, as Abe grew increasingly possessive and jealous, her obsession led her to commit murder. On May 18, 1936, during one of their encounters, Abe strangled Ishida to death with her obi sash while he slept. Afterward, she severed his genitalia, wrote messages in his blood, and carried his remains with her for days. The shocking crime led to a nationwide panic, with sensational media coverage dubbing it the Go Ichi Hachi Incident, 518 Incident. When police finally arrested her, she calmly confessed, stating she killed Ishida out of love, ensuring that no other woman could have him. Abe's trial became a media spectacle, drawing crowds fascinated by the lurid details of her crime. She was convicted of second-degree murder and corpse mutilation, receiving a 6-year prison sentence, but was released after 5 years. Her story became deeply ingrained in Japanese culture, inspiring books, films, and discussions on themes of eroticism, obsession, and gender roles. The case remains a symbol of Japan's erotic, grotesque nonsense, ero-guro nansensu culture, reflecting society's complex relationship with sex, crime, and sensationalism. Abe Sada's story continued to fascinate Japan long after her release from prison. Upon regaining freedom, she assumed an alias and entered a discreet relationship, but when her true identity was revealed, she was abandoned. Meanwhile, Japan's post-war government promoted entertainment and sensational stories like hers to distract from political turmoil, shifting public perception of Abe from a symbol of dangerous female sexuality to one of rebellion and personal freedom. Abe became the subject of numerous books, articles, and interviews. Some depicted her as a pervert, while others saw her as a tragic romantic figure. She responded by writing her own memoirs to reclaim her narrative. The media frenzy surrounding her continued for decades, inspiring literature, films, and even music. By the late 1940s, she was appearing in magazine interviews and stage productions, and by the 1950s, she lived a quiet life, working at a Tokyo pub. Despite living a low-profile life for years, she remained a figure of intrigue. By the late 1960s, she briefly re-emerged for a film documentary before disappearing completely in 1970. Some rumors suggested she became a nun. Nevertheless, her legacy endured, inspiring films like In the Realm of the Senses, books, and even experimental music. Decades later, she remains a cultural icon, symbolizing obsession, eroticism, and defiance against societal norms. Sada Abe was a former geisha and prostitute who became infamous in Japan for murdering her lover, Kichizo Ishida, on May 18, 1936. After strangling him to death during an intense love affair, she severed his genitals, kept them as a memento, and wrote messages in his blood. Her actions shocked Japan and sparked nationwide media frenzy, later known as Sada Mania. Born in 1905 to a wealthy family in Tokyo, Sada had a troubled life. She was sexually assaulted at a young age, sold into a geisha house, and later became a prostitute. She met Kichizo Ishida, a married businessman, in 1936, and they quickly began a passionate affair. However, Sada grew jealous and possessive, leading to her eventual crime. After the murder, she fled but was captured 2 days later. Her trial drew massive public attention, with newspapers covering every detail. She pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 6 years in prison, though she was released early in 1940. After her release, she struggled with her notoriety, living under aliases and working various jobs. She eventually disappeared from public records around 1970, and her fate remains unknown. Her case remains famous in Japan, inspiring books, films such as The Realm of the Senses, and debates about love, obsession, and sexuality.